Hello everybody, and welcome to SportSource, your number one source for sports, and today we're making a video talking about the Matt Duchene trade that happened yesterday. Now the reason I waited a day to make this video was because, I didn't want to give my initial reaction because there wasn't a lot of facts and I would just be spitting out unintelligent stuff. So I wanted to wait a bit, look at my numbers, make sure I actually know what I'm talking about, and just form an actual opinion on this trade, and it took me a day, and I think I have formed who I think won the trade, and we also have to consider all the variables in the trade. But before we talk about the trade, smash that like button and subscribe for more NHL news and discussions. Without further ado, let's begin the video. So, if you haven't already heard, Matt Duchene was traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Columbus Blue Jackets along with Julius Bergman for Vitali Abramov, Jonathan Davidson, and a first with a protection on it and a conditional first. Now, I'll be talking about the picks right now. So the 2019 first round pick is top 3 protected, and the Columbus Blue Jackets are in a wild card spot right now, so I like that they protected it for a top 3. So if you don't know what that means, basically if they miss the playoffs and then they win the draft lottery and get a top 3 pick, then that pick goes to them, but if it's 4 or below, it goes to Ottawa. So that's pretty good. I like that. And I think the Columbus Blue Jackets will make the playoffs because, in my opinion, this is a good trade because I think that Columbus is a better team than Carolina, and I think that they just needed that asset to make that push, and I think that they can make that last wildcard spot over Carolina right now. So that's just my take on it. But the 2020 pick is conditional, and the reason it's conditional is if Matt Duchene re-signs with Columbus, then that pick goes to Ottawa. But if Duchene just walks in free agency, then Columbus gets their pick back, obviously, because I really like the working of this trade because it makes it so that Columbus can't really go wrong because obviously Panarin and Bobrovsky and Duchene, those are their 3 of their top 5 players right now, are going into free agency next year. So you if they don't pan out and if they don't re-sign with you, then you want to have that pick for next year, so that's smart. And if you miss the playoffs and win the draft lottery, they have a backup. So I really like the working of this trade on Columbus's part. But let's talk about the players. First, we'll talk about Vitali Abramov. And he's a really good prospect. 2016, third-round pick. He's really good. He's undersized. I think he's only like 5'9", 175. But he is a really, really good prospect. And I really like that Ottawa acquired him, and I think that he has potential to be a top 6 forward in this league. He's a great goal scorer. He's a great puck handler. He's got great hands, and he's just overall a very good offensive player. Obviously, his defense impact is a little bit weakened because of his frame, but he's also very fast, and I think that he could be a top 6 forward in this league. And professionally right now, he's only got 12 goals and 10 assists in the AHL. But going to Belleville, I think that he could finish off good. And I really hope that Ottawa develops him because I think that he could be a good winger for the future. And also, he's probably going to get a lot of opportunity in Ottawa because, A, they're rebuilding. I don't think he'll make the team, but in Belleville, they're basically clearing out Belleville because they have to. If Ottawa's trading their whole roster, then they're going to call up the guys from the AHL. And that the good guys from the AHL, and then Vitali Abramov will kind of be the star of Belleville for now. So that's just kind of my take on it. Ottawa's clearing house, but you got to remember for Ottawa, you still got to try to stay good. Well, not necessarily good, but you still need to have a roster because you just want to finish out the season not on a note where you just trade literally everybody and not get any roster players back. And in this trade, Columbus didn't lose any roster players, and Ottawa didn't gain any roster players. So, you could take of that what you will. But Jonathan Davidson, I don't know too much about him. I think he was a 6th-round pick. He's a Swedish forward. I think that he could pan out to be like a bottom 6 winger for them. But that's all I could really see. He's 21. I don't think that he has that much upside. But he could be a decent NHLer at best. And I already talked about Abramov, who is a really good prospect. I'm glad that Ottawa, even though they were rushed, and that they still got him out of the deal, because I feel like Pierre Dorian was very rushed in this trade because it's the trade deadline. You know, you got to make a deal on Duchene. Are you going to try to sign him? Are you going to trade him? And I'm not sure what the other offers on the table was, but getting a top-tier prospect to start your rebuild is very good because we know that Ottawa's rebuilding, and it's kind of hard to rebuild without your first-round pick. So I think that this is a good trade for Ottawa because they get a prospect to move forward with, and they have potentially 2 first-round picks that they could go with, and at least 1. So you can take of that what you will, but I think that this is a very good trade for Ottawa. They get worse, obviously, but for the future, it's all right. They clear some cap as well. It's kind of a dumpster fire right now, and it's kind of weird to think about where they've come since, because they were 1 goal away from the Stanley Cup, or 1 overtime away from the Stanley Cup Finals a little bit ago, and then ever since that happened, it's just been downhill. But I want to talk about Matt Duchene a little bit because he is the main piece of this trade, and he is the guy that we're going to see right now if they won. Because if he does well and Columbus goes far in the playoffs, then they won if he resigns. So he is kind of the main variable right now because he is going to be the only one playing in the NHL. The rest of the guys are future variables because they are young. They could make the league, they could not, but most likely they're all going to make the team in the following years. But let's talk about Matt Duchene. Now, he grew up a Colorado Avalanche fan. He was drafted by them. And then they had that one magnificent season, and then they traded him away after they had that horrendous season. And then they traded him away. You know, at the time, it was kind of a weird trade. We didn't really know what to think of it. But now, looking back on it, we all know the memes. Colorado has Ottawa's first-round pick unprotected. And it's looking like it's going to be the first overall pick unless something in the lottery can happen. I don't think the lottery is going to go Colorado's way. That's just what I think. And do they really need Jack Hughes? I mean, they're already stacked on forwards, but that could be for another video. But Matt Duchene, you know, he was on a crappy team on Colorado. There was some troubles there. They were just a dumpster fire. And then they ship him off to Ottawa, a team that he even said himself they wants to play playoff hockey. So he gets shipped to Ottawa, who is an overtime away from the Stanley Cup final. So at the time, it was like, okay, they get this forward who is an elite center. I think he's an elite center, a first-line center. And he could step in and help the team right away. But as soon as that trade happened, everything went downhill for the Ottawa Senators. And then that's where we are today with the complete tire fire that is the Ottawa Senators organization. I'm not meaning to trash Ottawa that much, but like, it's pretty bad. Even Ottawa fans can admit. And then, once Matt Duchene was traded from Colorado, they start doing really good. And then, you know, is that a thing with Matt Duchene? Is he a locker room problem? I mean, we don't really know. Lots of people are saying it's a locker room problem, but no one really knows him. Like, these players, we think we know them from the media, but we don't know Matt Duchene. We don't know what he's like in the locker room. We don't know all these things. So, did he bring down the Colorado Avalanche and Ottawa Senators? I don't really think so. I think that was just kind of lucky. Or not lucky that Colorado started doing good, but, you know, they got rid of him and they moved forward, and hopefully Ottawa can move well going forward from Matt Duchene. Now, let's talk about from Columbus' standpoint. Now, they are not in the playoffs right now, but they're trying to make a playoff push. And obviously, I talked about before how Panarin, Bobrovsky, and Duchene are all in free agency. And Columbus, in my opinion, they were in a really weird spot at the trade deadline, and they still are because the trade deadline is not yet, is in 4 days. But, while I'm recording this video. But, you know, there were a lot of things to question, and that was the state of the team. Are they a rebuilder? Do they trade Panarin and Bobrovsky and get some assets before they walk in free agency? Are they a retinkerer or a retooler where they kind of just shape their roster and try to get some good assets and just stick with the core they have right now? Or do they buy? Are they trying to contend and buy some players and sell them for future picks and prospects? And this is a buying move, and I think that they want to push because honestly, in my opinion, Colorado is watch out for Columbus, watch out for Columbus because when the playoffs come around, I think that they could be very dangerous because you got Matt Duchene who needs to prove himself in the playoffs, and I think they will prove himself in the playoffs when given the chance. You obviously got Panarin, who's an amazing player. You got Atkinson, who's having a really good year. But I feel like for the Columbus Blue Jackets, they need to put Duchene on the second line. Now, hear me out. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Atkinson, and Panarin. That's a really good line. They've all been playing really good this year. So I wouldn't really want to mess with that. I'd rather use Duchene as a piece to spark other players on their team. Because, Foligno, he hasn't really been playing that good this year. Wenberg has been playing terrible this year. There's just a lot of forwards on their team that just haven't been playing as good as we've seen. So I think that this is a very good move because Duchene can kind of spark those guys. And Duchene, I think, is an above average or an above point per game player with the Ottawa Senators. And, he could just bring a spark to that team. The defense is really good. The goaltending is very good. And they really need to think about, or this offseason is going to be really huge because are they going to re-sign these 3 players, Panarin, Matt Duchene, and Bobrovsky? But I think personally that Duchene would be a good player to have on this team. I think a center duo of Pierre-Luc Dubois, who is still, I think, only 20 years old, and he's still an amazing young player. He's just below a point per game. He's a really good player, and, he can still grow. And then you got Duchene, who could be the perfect second-line center. That's a really good 1-2 punch. I'm not sure what the term and money would be like, because obviously I'm not too familiar with Columbus cap situation. All I know is that they have Panarin, Bobrovsky, Duchene in next free agency. So are they going to try to re-sign all of them? I would want to try to, but do you move on? This is the best we've probably seen their team. It makes them better. Their defense is really good, as I've been talking about. And this trade, I like it because it improves them for right now. And it doesn't, they're not necessarily giving up too much. Obviously, Abramov is a really good prospect. But the picks, I like how they protected the picks. And I think that Duchene is a big wild card. And it could pay off huge for them. Thank you for listening. What do you think of the trade and who won? Let me know down in the comment section below. And subscribe for more NHL trades. The trade deadline is coming up, so I'll be making more videos on that. And if you want to see some NHL 19 franchise mode, then you can click my last video. But anyways, that's all for me now. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye.